everyone, today I'm creating a series of birthday cards using paper from a company called Modascrap. I hope I'm saying that correctly. It looks like it's an Italian company. This paper pack is 12 by 6 and it has 21 sheets of gorgeous pattern paper in it, and then it includes one with cut aparts. They also do have an ephemera pack or a die cut pack, which you can see on the right hand side of my screen, and I did use quite a bit of that today. Everything I thought would make sense for birthday cards was used. Now, in terms of the format that I'm using today, I'm not using a card sketch, but I'm using a variation on some sketches I've used in the past. So I've had card sketches where you chop off part of the front of the card. I've had others where you fold them over. And so today I'm going to do a bit of a combination of both. Instead of a slimline card with a fold over piece, I am doing standard A2. Now, in terms of what we're doing here, I have, as I said, 12 by 6 inch paper, which is a very unusual shape. But what I've decided to do is I am cutting 4 inches off the bottom of each of these panels, and it is the perfect amount to be able to cut the 3 components needed for one of these cards. So there is 20 sheets of pattern paper and then the one of the cut aparts. So I end up with a 4 by 4, a 4 by 3/4 of an inch, and then a 4 by 1 1/4 inch. Right now I'm running through and I am adding the 4 by 4 pattern paper to each of my card bases, and I have done absolutely no planning for these at all. I just have 20 different pattern papers, one of each design, and I'm adding the first element to the card. Because I haven't had to put any other pattern paper with it yet, I literally don't have to think about it at all, just attach it to the card. Now, what I've decided to do here is, because again, I didn't want to do too much planning, I have got the panel that is going to go on the inside flap of the card on the back of the card base. I've just put adhesive on the back and put them all over my desk. And I'm doing a bit of a little mini game where I have 2 cards patterns on my desk, and whatever I pick up, I've decided I have to choose one of those 2 pattern papers for it to go with. And then whichever one I use, I pick up a new one and put it on my desk. So I apologize, I'm a little bit off the screen here, but you can see the papers generally when I attach them to the paper. The only time where I have no choice out of the 2 is if I happen to pick up a piece of the paper that is the same as one of the 2 designs. But I'm not sure if it happened, and if it did, I don't really remember it, and so it kind of caused me too many troubles. When I got down to only 3 pieces left, or 3 card bases left, I flipped them all over so that I could try and make sure that I had good choices and I wasn't left with a mismatch that I wasn't happy with. And interestingly, you can see here, this one I do have the same paper as the top, and so I did have to make a choice out of 2 for those, and then here we go. I've got the green and the red that I'm adding onto these cards. Now, the next step was I laid them all out, and I thought, now is the tricky bit. Well, not the tricky bit, the fun bit, where I was going through and figuring out what is the 3rd piece of pattern paper going to be for each of these card layouts. And I've got 3/4 of an inch strip by 4 here in my hand, and I'm sorting through them. To make it a little easier, I put all of the green cards on the left, all of the red on the right, and all of the mixed ones, or the ones that were a bit more of the neutrals or the creams in the middle. And that just made it a little easier, because as I was going through, I tried not to, I tried to keep some themes. So you'll notice when I'm pulling out the red ones, I'm actually putting those generally with the red ones on the right. So that color family is all really, really nicely highlighted, and I'm not just adding a random green for the sake of it into a card where it maybe isn't necessary. The other thing that I'm doing here is I'm trying to use the boldest and the darkest colors first, because if there's any that are a bit more neutral, I feel like they'll be easier to put on the cards last when I've got less options to choose from. After I worked out all of the pattern papers, I glued them onto the cards. You can see them up on the top left. And then I laid out all of the Spring Poppy ephemera, and I realized there's not a lot and it's all quite small. which means I need to think about what am I going to do for a sentiment. A lot of the sentiments were a little bit more perhaps for scrapbooking, more so than card making. And so I knew that I probably wasn't going to use a lot of those, and they would end up in my leftover stash that I donate to school holiday programs for their craft activities. So I decided to use my scrapbook.com birthdays stamp set, and this has two particularly large stamps in it. One is an outline and one is quite a bold happy birthday. And I'm using my Lisa Horton Interference inks. This is the first time that I have used them, and they basically do a different color on black than they do on white. So you get quite a different result depending on the cardstock or the paper that you're using. I am putting a liberal amount onto these stamps and then transferring it. And what I found is it had an absolutely gorgeous shimmer, but it did take maybe 2 or 3 stamps for me to get the coverage that I was looking for. Absolutely gorgeous finish and a little fiddly for me to use, but I absolutely think they deserve the rave reviews that they've been getting by all the creators. In the end, I think I stamped out maybe 20 or 30 of these, possibly even more. Whenever I'm doing something with my MISTI and I'm stamping things bulk, I always make sure I have plenty for the project that I'm currently working on, but then also a load of extras so that if they're the perfect thing to finish off another project, I don't have to get all my supplies out and do more stamping. I can just grab from my stash and create much more quickly. The next step was to decide what to do with the flap that I have on the card, and this time I decided not to really prop it up at all, but just glue the flap straight down. So in real life, you can see that it's folded over. It's got that really interesting edge to it, but it's not propped up to create anything that's too 3D. So you could very easily pop these into the mail, and I don't think you'd have any issues with it creating any bulk. So I just ran through and did all 20 of the cards the same way. And you'll see here that I pile them up and then I just lean on them for a little bit so that the glue gets a chance to really, really stick, because I don't want those flaps pushing up and disconnecting from the card. That would not be a good look at all. You can see here that the inside of the card where it has that third piece of paper and what the edge looks like for someone who's receiving the card. The other thing I decided to do was finish off some of the sentiments that I had die cut but not stamped as part of my Queen & Company sentiment set. So you can see them there on the left. They have an absolutely gorgeous cutout with just the perfect border around the sentiment, and things like have a lovely birthday or even just happy birthday were perfect for what I was trying to do today. They're sizable enough that they create a really interesting focus on the card, and you can see here that I've put the black and white on the darker colours so they contrast against the red. And for those and many of the cards, I didn't actually add anything else. The paper was gorgeous and the poppies were so pretty that just putting the have a lovely birthday on it without any other embellishments or decoration just seemed like it had a really nice, simple card layout. As I worked through and decided which ones would pair up well, I put them off to the side, and then I'm going to bulk glue all of those down once I've completed all of the card designs. This just gives me that chance to change my mind, or if as I'm working through I decide there's a different color combination or want to move something around that doesn't work for one of the patterns that I still haven't finished the card. Just that flexibility is super, super helpful. You can see here I keep trying to put down these white happy birthdays, the outline one and then the one that's very bold and a darker colour. It's like a really dark purple, and they weren't working. So now I'm looking at, well, what about if I use black? And the black, it just didn't look quite right. You can see it just kind of looks a little bit washed out and disappears into the paper. So the solution that I had for that is to just do a really thin, simple black border around the edge. And what that does is just creates a bit of a separator for the sentiment from the pattern paper and just makes it stand out so that it's bold enough to match the boldness of the font. So you can see here, I've got happy birthday in huge bold font with a matting layer. And then on the right hand side, you can see the have a lovely birthday, which is the black ink on the white. And because it's got that really nice definition around where the die has cut out close to the sentiment, it's soft enough to suit the card and it doesn't need to really stand out more from the backing panel. So 2 different approaches for the same paper pack, and both I think worked out really well. I would be interested to know below though in the comment section about which of the cards you like the best. Do you like the red ones? Do you like the green ones? Do you like these ones here with the big bold happy birthday, or maybe the more subtle sentiments? I'd really love to know which is your favourite. The other thing I wanted to mention about these paper packs is that Spring Poppies and another one called Love is in the Air, they are only $5.99 on scrapbook.com, and there's 21 sheets in them at the 6x12 size. So it is actually cheaper than most of the 6x6 paper pads. So I'm not sure why that's the case. Not all of the designs are that cheaper price, but for me, they're such pretty colours. I absolutely love them, and I did buy a couple of each of them, so I have some spares in my stash in case I want to make some more cards using these pretty papers. I've put links below so that you can find them super easily, but again, it's Spring Poppies, and this one's Spring Poppies, and the other one I love is called Love is in the Air. With these paper packs, they do have a little sample of the pattern paper as the front page, and it's the beautiful matte paper of the rest of the pack. So I've cut down those little cut down those little rectangles and tried to figure out an interesting way to use them on some of the cards. So I did just show a little sample of how I'd put a little square or rectangle and then added a couple of the little embellishments to it to add some interest on the left-hand side. And in this case, it's a couple of these cute little kind of skeleton style leaves, and they beautifully match the colours because they are all from the same collection. And then I've got a tiny little happy birthday that was in my stash. I think that one was a leftover from possibly from a Paper Rose collection, I think. But just adding this little element off to the left is perfect, and it's enough interest on the card for it to be something I think everybody would enjoy. You can see here that I'm working through with the actual poppies, and again, these little rectangles of pattern paper. And I don't know, do you do the same as me and not waste anything if you can avoid it? A lot of the paper packs have like a gloss front cover, which I find a little bit harder to use, but with these, it's all matte, so absolutely worked beautifully. If you're enjoying the video, it would be fantastic if you could hit the like button or consider subscribing. That is how YouTube knows you've enjoyed the video, and it will help it share to more new viewers. Thank you for that. All right, so here I am. I'm working through 4 at a time, and this is possibly my last 4, I think. And I'm trying to work out, am I going to put them vertical or horizontal? And I've pulled out of my stash some more of these pre-stamped little happy birthdays. Honestly, the majority of the cards that I make are birthday or thank you cards. So for me, I just have all shapes and sizes of little happy birthday sentiments available. And then on my desk, I actually have a couple of stamp blocks that permanently have a couple of the sentiments that I use most regularly. So this one is one from Fawn. It is from a little Fawn pack that has probably, I think, 6 or 7 little happy birthdays on it. I honestly constantly need just a little happy birthday to just fit in the corner of something that I'm adding as a bit of a design element. And so I don't even take it off the stamp block. The rest of the little stamp set, it's one of the little 2x3 inch ones, is floating around on my desk somewhere. I have put a link here to some videos that I think you might enjoy. Have a great day.